those the ear cards? JIHOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO I cannot see yet without those eyes cards. But I'm sure I can hear something. Geos. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Axies here, and today it is time to finally get a look at the ears cards. Listen, fam, we've been waiting for so long to finally find out what the eyes and the ears will do in Axie Origin. We are getting eyes and ear cards for the first time in Axie history. So history is being made right now. Of course, we have to go and take a look. I'm going to take a look at all of them. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take a look at all of them. But it is going to be like, I'm going to fucking speed run this shit, bro. Okay, so truth be told, it is a completely different day. We didn't speed run the ears card review. I think there was so much there, and reviewing every single card, it took a long time. I sat here and I thought about the content I'm creating recently, and I'm really trying my hardest to like improve the content and make it more entertaining for people to come here and watch, whilst also, you know, you guys actually getting information of value, and watching the video brings value to you as a person and your endeavors in this Web3 space. But I was thinking, what can I do? Right? I can do my due diligence, right, of investigating Origin fully, as we are so close to having all body parts for full theory crafting purposes, XYZ, right? We're about at most a week away from an Origin release right now. And I think there's so much about the game that people aren't aware of that is actually accessible information. So in this video, instead of an ear card review now, what we are going to do is going to drop the things that you must know before Origin is released. There are going to be some really useful tips and tricks later in the video, so make sure you stick around for that. To begin this video though, we're going to look at a few decisions that I made after doing the ear cards review and explain why I made some of these decisions. Now, this right here is Babybel. It's an Axie that I went and purchased yesterday for under $50. I saw this guy on the floor of the market, and with the body part synergy, I had to go ahead and swoop him up. As you can see here, Babybel does indeed have lava ears and parasite horn. That's important because of this combination right here. So the lava ear cards really stood out to me. We actually get the ability to scry. Now, scry is a term that I've seen being used in another game, Slay the Spire. And in Slay the Spire, this is how it translates. It says that whenever you scry, you will look at a certain number of cards on top of your draw pile. You then may choose to discard any number of them. So Lava's effect is to scry 2 cards. That means we get to look at the next 2 cards in which we are going to draw, and have the choice to discard one of those 2 cards or both of those cards. If one of those cards or both of those cards are skill cards, we will then gain an energy for each one of those. Now, there are a ton of skill cards in Axie Origins, and there are loads to choose from. But I do think that the biggest advantage of the scry ability is that you will get an insight as to what you'll be drawing for the next turn. We've already experienced in Battles V2 how playing multiple turns ahead of the current situation is a huge advantage, and I think that will still apply in the card game that we'll have in Origin. A lot of the new terminology that we are seeing in Axie Origin does resemble to other card games, which is why I looked at Slay the Spire's description of the word scrying to kind of get more of an idea what lava might look like in Origin. But I do think that playing one step ahead of your opponent by knowing the cards you will receive next is a huge advantage, not to mention the choice to discard one of them as a skill to gain energy as well. Now, this combines with Parasite in my opinion, because we also get to see what the opponent can do next. We can really start to build a bigger picture on outplaying the opponent in the next few turns or the following turn. Not only that, but Parasite is a decent damaging card, doing 60 damage, and is also a bug card, so on Babybel, this suits it perfectly. There are things that I'll reveal later in the video, which I'm biting my tongue to not mention in these stages, but we will get to that. Now, Babybel's body part synergy doesn't end there. both the back and the mouth part of Babybel will cause bleed in Origin. Now for the mouth card, it is in fact Pinsir. The back card, as you guys could see, was Jaguar, and Jaguar is the exact same, a damaging card doing 60 damage and causing bleed for 4 turns. Whether these two cards will actually stack bleed damage in Origins is yet to be disclosed. However, I still feel as if Babybel will have enough damaging cards and a useful ability to be effective in Origin. The reason I'm excited to have 2 body parts that have the same effect is the addition of charms. I understand right now that charms will be able to enhance the abilities of an Axie's body part, or essentially their cards. We will be given the opportunity to enhance each and every one of our Axie's moves by utilizing charms. One of the greatest things, and why this was such a steal for a floor price Axie, was the fact that Babybel is pretty much a pure bug, the only card being Jaguar that isn't from the bug type, making Babybel a 5 out of 6 purity in Battles version 2, but that doesn't mean anything in Battles version 2. How about if I told you in Origin, Babybel is actually a 6 out of 7 purity Axie. Now with all of the new cards, it can get very complicated to build synergized Axies, and creating these Axies now without the full knowledge I would not recommend or advise. But there are a few card combinations that are very simplistic to synergize, and I do think that these will be perfect for new players to the game, or those that just would like to have an Axie that they know will have some utility and a game plan by the time we get into Origin. One of these combinations is utilizing the cards like Little Owl and Nutcracker. Now I was just searching the marketplace and I stumbled across this, and funnily enough, they named the Axie 3x Owl V3 meta. People are already picking up to the simplicity of strategy that you can build with these types of card combinations. Little Owl will actually gain a bonus 6 damage for each owl part that the Axie has. As we can see from the ears card reveal, Little Owl is now the name of the old owl earpiece. The ability is all Little Owl cards of this Axie gain 6 damage this battle. So if you have all 3 Little Owl pieces, that means you will have 2 of each of those cards, meaning 6 of those cards in your deck. This Axie then has a move for each of those 6 cards, adding a bonus 6 damage. Now combining this with other bird parts and aiming for full purity is probably a really solid strategy to go forward into V3, and we'll get into why the purity is important in just a moment. Congratulations, you've almost got to the end of the video. As a gift, I'm about to show you guys a Chrome extension that will help you so much on the marketplace. Now, just like any Chrome extension, you go over to the Chrome web store and make sure the extensions tab is clicked. If you type in the search engine, all one word, Axie Dex, and then press enter, you should see this come up here by Tony Strawberry. Now, the Axie Dex is going to be assisting you on finding pure Axies, and it also will display their recessive genes, so you can look for breeding potential. Not only that, but you have the capability to save filters for your search engines, so you don't have to continue searching for the same body parts over and over again. There are a bunch of cool settings on the Axie Dex that you can alter to fit your needs, and also you can join the community through a Discord server, where personally I've had a question answered and seen an update on the Axie Dex itself that accommodated for the concern that I had. Now, one of the main things why I have this Chrome extension is because visually I think it's aesthetic, and I can see if an Axie is worth breeding or has a high level of purity almost instantaneously. Not only that, but the recent addition of displaying the cards over the body parts that you hover is very useful, especially now that Origin is on its way and you might not know what all of the cards do. It's very annoying to have to go back and check the substack every single time, whereas now the cards are pulled up for you and you can get a sense of how this Axie will be in Origin already. Again, massive shout out to Tony Strawberry, the creator, and everybody that is using and in the Axie Dex Discord. Thank you guys so much for bringing an amazing product to the community. There is only a small portion left, but this portion is going to be the most informational and potentially the most valuable part of this video. So make sure we stick around for the end. So this is indeed the guillotine post I was talking about. I will leave a link to this in the description so you guys can check it out for yourselves. but there are a few things in here that are really important for us to touch on. I'd just like to say before I go through this as well, all of this information was actually dropped in Axie's Discord. Sometimes some of the Sky Mavis teams and employees will be lurking in the Discord and may or may not answer some of your questions. There was almost a Q&A style interaction here with Jeff, and he gave some really important insight to what Origins may look like. Now, to touch on the purity section we were talking about here, a question was asked about the Hatsune tail. He said here that I think Hatsune and Gravelant will change on launch. It doesn't make sense for two cards to have the same effect. Now, in Battles version 2, it makes sense to think about that. Well, why would we have two body parts that pretty much do the exact same thing? And we know that this is a constant anyway with cards like Piranha, Jaguar. We have cards like Razorbyte and Zigzag, Catfish, Mosquito. They literally have the same effects and the same damage. Now, in Battles v2, that isn't the case, but in Origin, it is. But Jeff answers the question in a way that points out the importance of purity. It states here, we know they are the same and it is intentional. There are more cards that are the same as well, but a pure plant with Hatsune is not the same as a 6 out of 7 purity plant with Gravelant, because the one with Gravelant won't be able to use the best charms because it has less purity. When I read this, family, I did not know how important purity would be. Sky Mavis intentionally made cards similar so that the charms and runes will enhance them in personal ways, meaning that the purity to get the best charms onto each body part is very important. Somebody asked about the rock paper scissor effect in Origin and whether it would be carried over. As of right now, this is our Axie type chart, and we can do super effective damage against certain types and then not very effective damage against other types in that rock paper scissor diagram. Shade goes on to explain that the rock paper scissors is absolutely gone. There are no damage bonuses, there are no damage decreases based on the type of the card being used or the body type of the Axie being hit. That person then stated, well then what is the point of classes now? And Shade continued to tell them that there are class specific runes and charms. Only plant Axies can use plant runes. So the best plant runes will be available to none other than a pure plant Axie. So this is where the importance of purity is really going to stand tall. For those that may have been confused why I was saying 7 out of 7, Shade even explains this in the little Q&A series where he states the body type of the actual Axie is part of the purity count. So like the mechs not being fully 7 for 7 pure is because they have the mech body. Another one of the questions that was really interesting, and Shade provided some good insight in his answer here. The person states, also on the tails, I think Potato Leaf is going to be a good on a squishy Axie, meaning a not so tanky Axie, one without shields, etc. If I think stealth can't be targeted while there are other Axies alive. He said, yep, good for support Axies. He then goes to say that the concept of front, mid, and back is less important in Origin, and instead it will be more tank, support, and carry will be more prominent. So those are roles. We are now seeing the formation of Axies adopting roles. They are no longer being put into a composition because they do well in the back line or any of those previous reasons we used them in that formation in Battles v2. Instead, we're going to have to design and work with our Axies in order to create Axies that have perfect utility for a role that they will serve on the team. Just this little hint of information right here could indeed help you start to compose or theory craft the team that you would look to use in Axie Origin. I'm gonna throw this one in there because I tweeted it out yesterday as well, but Shade does press on to talk about poison. And just to say in general, to not assume that poison works the same way that it does now. He also in a different question answers about debuffs, saying that the debuffs and the buffs as you know them in Battles v2 will not be the same in Origin. Something really nice to note is the fact that the concept of a turn in Origin actually is more like a traditional game now. Before, in Battles version 2, we were used to playing by the round. So each round, every Axie would have their turns, and each card played was considered a turn. Now I play all of my cards and make all of the actions that I want to and click end turn, and that is one turn. The opponent then does the same and plays their cards and clicks the end their turn, and it is then my turn again. That would be a 2-turn cycle, meaning that some of the card effects that we are seeing now will actually be a lot more substantial in the new form of the game. When I first read bleed for 4 turns, I initially thought that it would happen for the next 4 cards that were played, and saw that the whole 4-turn thing wasn't too effective. You might think that it's completely overpowered, right? Well, so did the person that asked the question, stating, really? Then apply fear for 4 turns is so overpowered if fear has the same effect in Origin. Shade then confirms what we were talking about on the debuffs by saying, don't assume any buffs and debuffs is the same as it is now. So that was a whole lot of information, but I tried to condense the video down for you guys so it was entertaining for you also. But a whole lot is going to be different as we enter into Origins. I thought that some of this information would be really helpful to a lot of you guys out there, new players or old players alike. I only just found out about this and it blew my fucking mind. I couldn't believe that I'd been preparing for Origin, or supposedly preparing for Origin, without being aware of some of this information. So hopefully me bringing it to you today has presented some value, and you can now start to shape your Origin preparations effectively. Having said all of that and reading all the information that we have, I still think the best strategy for Origins is to just be patient. The game is a mere week at most away for us to get our hands on and find out even more information. However, if you are going to be making some risks this week, I would just at least say to focus on the purity of the Axie as a priority. It's one of the few things that you definitely can get right and will be effective when Origin is released. Me personally, I am so excited to get my hands on the game itself and figure out all the missing pieces to the puzzle that are still there. Don't say I didn't warn you when Axie comes out and you've got no 7 for 7 purities and you want the rune or charm, and then it's like, oh mate, your thing's not pure enough, and you can be like, yo, but it's a mech with beast parts. What? Yeah, it's just not gonna go good, is it? Anyway fam, you've been here for way too long. Love ya. Remember to subscribe. If you liked the video, click the thumbs up, you know, do all that stuff. But other than that, mate, just get the fuck out. Cheers. Sound.